Hi everyone, and welcome back to Ascend's weekly webinar Friday Forums. If this is your first time tuning in, these webinars run every Friday at 12 o'clock p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, and we cover a range of topics from the most commonly asked support questions to new features and handy tips and tricks to help you along your journey with Ascend. So please come along and don't forget your lunch. So today we'll be taking a look at the top 5 most common issues that occur with your ledger entries and how to go about resolving these. As always, please do send through any questions you may have throughout the webinar, and I'll be sure to answer them for you at the end and in the Q&A portion of this webinar. So, jumping right into the first issue, I want to cover a little bit of a walkthrough on how to refund or delete different payment types. So jumping into Ascend, I just have a test patient up here. And for this first example, I'm going to walk through what to do in the situation where you need to remove a cash payment. So let's begin by jumping through to Harry's ledger. And taking a quick look here, we can see that there has been an invoice completed and a payment of $100, which is a cash payment. What I want to do is click onto the cash payment here, and you'll notice in the bottom right-hand corner that it's actually going to give you the delete option. So all you need to do to remove this is delete that out and then hit delete to that second prompt that appears. Now you can see that there's nothing on the ledger insinuating that there was a payment completed. It's just got the item code that was invoiced and the invoice that was created. So you don't need to cancel anything, refund anything, just hit delete in the case of a cash payment and it will be removed from the ledger for you. Now, it is important to note that there is also a setting that's possible to set, which will select the number of days previous that can be edited. So just keep in mind that if your administrators have set that up so that perhaps previous entries can't be edited past a couple of days or something like that, you may not be able to delete a cash payment as easily as this. But typically, if it's within the last month or so, usually it will be able to be deleted in the case of if you've made a mistake. Now, next up, I have another test patient here. However, this gentleman has a similar situation, but the payment was completed via FPOS rather than cash. So what I'm going to do is walk you through what you would want to do in this situation if this FPOS payment was entered in incorrectly and you needed to remove it. So getting started, what we want to do is similar to before, we actually want to click onto this FPOS payment line here. So I'm just going to go ahead and click that. And you'll just see here that there's actually going to be a red button in the bottom right hand corner again. However, this time it says refund rather than delete. Now there is an important distinction between the two. If you go ahead and delete something, it's going to be removed from the ledger. A refund, however, is going to negate the amount out for you, but it is going to show that that payment was entered at some point. I'll show you what I mean in just a moment. But when it comes to FPOS payments and credit card payments, you are only able to do a refund. You're not able to delete those directly off the ledger. So in this case, we will go ahead and select refund. So I'll just click that now. And it does give you a few more options where you can take a look at the amount. So for example, if you only needed to refund a partial amount, maybe half of the amount, for example, you can change that there and then go ahead and hit save. As you can see here, this refund looks a little bit different to how the cash deletion looked. It's actually going to show the initial FPOS payment line there, and then it's also going to show the FPOS refund line here. So of course, overall, that positive and negative is going to cancel it out as if nothing happened. However, it does reflect that on the patient's ledger. So it's just important to keep that in mind when it comes to FPOS payments and credit card payments. In another example here, I just have a patient brought up on the screen who has had a e-claim payment completed as well as an FPOS payment. So what I'm going to do is walk you through what you might want to do in this situation if you need to cancel this out or delete this out, depending on what the situation is, if there was a mistake made, if it was accidentally entered in under the incorrect patient. So what you want to go ahead and do to delete the e-claim payment is you actually want to make sure you click onto the actual payment line. So you'll notice there's the two purple lines. The one that has the code pay is the payment line. So if we go ahead and click onto that, you'll find again in the bottom right hand corner there's going to be a delete button there. So all you need to do if you need to remove this off the patient's ledger is you want to go ahead and hit delete down there. And again, it's going to come up with a second prompt. You just want to hit delete to confirm that you do want to delete that. So now what this does is essentially take you a step backwards. So you can see that there is still a light purple line there and there's still the FPOS payment. All we've done is delete the high caps payment at this point in time. So if, for example, this patient had no high caps completed at all, you might want to go ahead and delete the claim as well. Again, that's very similar to how you deleted the payment for the high caps claim. All you would want to do is go ahead and click onto the light purple line here. And again, in the bottom right hand corner, you would want to go ahead and delete claim and then confirm the deletion. So at this point, you can see that it's just showing that there was the 014, an invoice created, and then an FPOS payment. Of course, as per my previous example, if you needed to refund out the FPOS payment at this point, you would be very welcome to do so. You would just need to click onto that line and then go ahead and hit refund. But at this point, if all you needed to do was delete out that e-claim payment, if it was incorrect, then that would be the way you do it. Another thing that I do want to advise is that I haven't covered specifically how to delete a check payment. And the reason for that is because the check payment actually acts the exact same way as a cash payment. So cash payments and check payments, you can delete right off. Credit card payments and FPOS payments, you can refund and it's going to show that there was an initial payment entered. And any e-claim payments that have been completed can also be deleted out. In this second issue, I'll be discussing how to apply a new fee schedule to ensure that the correct prices appear for the correct doctors or the correct health funds as needed. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring up another patient that I have here. Now, before I enter anything in, I want to show you a particular fee schedule that I've created. So to do that, I'm just going to jump up to settings and I'm just going to go directly down to fee schedules here. Now, the fee schedule that I've created, that is the new one I've called Doctor Fees, which is over here. And if we click into this, I just want to show you very quickly the fees that I have set. So you can see here that for an 011, it's set to $50. You can see here for an 012, it's $100, and then for an 013, it's $80. So I just want to show you very quickly that that's the fee schedule that I want to be using. It's the new one that I've set up. Now that I've shown you that, I just want to very quickly go back to the patient's ledger and put through a procedure code. And I will go ahead and do one of those ones that I've just set prices for. So I'm just going to hit the procedure plus sign. And for the procedure, I'm going to go ahead and select 011. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit that one there. Now, as you can see here, this is actually picking up the amount of $40 when I actually just set up a new fee schedule that is set to $50. So that doesn't look like it's bringing up the correct price for me. I might try another item code just to double check that. So let's check an 013. And that's actually coming up with the amount of $40 as well, which definitely is not the price that I've just set. And this, unfortunately, is an issue that quite a few practices do get into when they create a new fee schedule, because there is actually a second step that needs to be completed. So I will quickly go ahead and show you what that is. So I'll cancel out of here. Now, after you've created the fee schedule, again, that is just in settings and then fee schedules. The next thing that you want to do is jump over to the user accounts area. Now, what you want to do is you just want to go ahead and select the providers that you actually need to be using that fee schedule. So in this particular example, I'm going to go ahead and select Stuart's user account here. He's the provider that I need to be using this fee schedule. So now that I've jumped into his user account, you just want to head over to fees over here. And you can see here that the default fee schedule that's being used is the fee schedule Blackburn fees, not doctor fees, which is actually why the incorrect fees are displaying. So what I'll actually want to do is go ahead and change that to doctor fees and then go ahead and save this. Now, just before I leave out of this area, I just want to make a quick note that this is also the same process that you would want to take if you've become a preferred provider for a particular health fund, for example, HCF. If you require patients who are with HCF health fund to receive, for example, a different fee schedule, what you would want to do is jump into here under the providers that require that and add that under the corresponding health fund. So as a very quick example, if I go to H here, you can see it looks like it's already been set up for HCF, but if I were to select HBF, at this point it's then going to allow me to select a fee schedule to use. So for example, if I had a HBF fee schedule set up within here, because I've just become a preferred provider, what you'd want to do is select that one from the list. Again, this is the second step, so you would want to do this step after you have already created the fee schedules. So now that I have saved this, I'm going to go ahead and enter in a procedure again, just so that I can show you. If I re-enter now an 011 and select that, we can see that it's now showing the price as $50, which is exactly what I want. That's the price that I've set. So I'm just going to go ahead and also do a 013 and perfect. That's got $80 sitting there in the amount, which is the new price that I've set under that doctor's fees fee schedule. So we'll move on to our third issue now, which is how to apply payments. And this is most often required in the case of deposit payments. So I'm just going to bring up another patient here, Mary. Now you can see here that there is actually a $200 FPOS payment that was entered in last month. So Mary has actually come in today and she's had some treatment completed. So I'm going to go ahead and enter in a few item codes quickly. So as you can see here, Mary has had 3 item codes completed, an 011, an 012, and a 114. Now, she did already pay $200 last month. So $200, of course, you would expect to come off the total for this amount. But how do you decide which particular item codes it was actually associated with? Well, the first step is you want to go ahead and follow the regular patient walkout process. So first of all, you do need to create the invoice. That's standard and you'll always need to do that as a first step. So we will go ahead and create the invoice. Now that we have created the invoice now, we have already got a payment sitting there. So I'm just going to close out of this window very quickly there. Now what you want to go ahead and do now is click onto the FPOS payment line. And once the FPOS payment opens up, you can see here that it's going to show the 3 item codes and it's going to show the amount that was applied to each. Currently, we have not applied anything, but we do have $200 that we can apply. Now, in this case, it was actually the 011 and the 012 that Mary prepaid for or paid the deposit on. So that's what I'm going to apply with the $200. So for the 011, we can see it was $120 and that $200 covered that full $120 amount. And then it also covered the $80 for the 012 as well. So now that we've entered that, we can go ahead and save this. And we can see here that the balance is still sitting at $150, but we can also see that there's no unapplied credits sitting here. When it comes to deposit payments, if you don't go ahead and apply the credits either manually or the next way that I'm going to show you, it is going to remain under the unapplied credits area here. So now I've just brought up another test patient here, Claire. Now, this patient did actually go ahead and pay a deposit on the 1st of June, also to the amount of $100. So what we're going to do very quickly is enter in another procedure code here. And as you can see here, there's just been an 011 that has been entered to the amount of $100. As we did before, what we do want to do is go ahead and hit patient walkout. And as a very first step, we just want to create the invoice. Now that we've done that and created the invoice, we do need to go ahead and again apply the credits. Now you'll notice that there is the unapplied credits up here in the top left hand corner, sorry. Now, we want to use this particular way to apply the credits when it doesn't matter which item code it applies to, or in this case, there's only the one item code for it to be applied to. In the previous situation, we had 3 item codes, but only 2 of them had been covered by that deposit. So in that situation, you do need to specify which item codes it is that you want this payment to go against. Otherwise, what it's going to do is it's just going to add the amounts in a top-down fashion. In this particular case, because we only have the one item code that needs to be covered, what I'm going to do is I am going to use this unapplied credits option up here in the top left hand corner to automatically apply that. So if you click on that light blue hyperlink, it's going to come up with another drop down where you just want to choose the option apply credits. Now what that's going to do is it's going to apply all the credits it can to the item codes that are sitting there in the order that they were entered in at. So if you had a few different item codes for different dates, it will do the earliest date first and then onwards. Because there's only the one item code here, it means that's of course the one that it's going to apply to. So that was the third issue covered. For my fourth issue here, I'll be going through what to do when you're unable to see ledger entries that you know are there. So I have a patient here, Hillary. Now I'm going to go ahead and jump into their progress notes, and I just want to go ahead and show you what's been completed for this patient. So as you can see here, on the 24th of June, there was an 011 and an 014 completed, and the total came to $100 for this patient. Now, if we go ahead and head over to the ledger, we should see both of those sitting there, of course. So we'll just head over to the ledger now. So now that we are on the ledger, you can actually see here that it looks as though there isn't anything sitting here at all. There's a balance forward of $100, so we can see that there's $100 sitting there owing, and we can see it up here as well, but we can't actually see the item codes associated. Now, this happens if the view of the ledger has changed. So up here in the top right-hand corner, there's a view button. If you click that drop down, you'll see there's a few different options you can select when it comes to the date range. So you can see the date range here is set to the 1st of July through to the 9th of July. This is why it's not going to be appearing, because the item codes in question were actually completed back in June. So what we'll want to do is either change the date range to include back in June, or alternatively, you can go ahead and just select all history to show everything. So I will go ahead and click done. And there we go. As you can see, it's got those 2 item codes sitting there as we would expect, but it is important to note that when you do change the view, so if you were looking at perhaps a 1 week date range only, it is going to stay as that 1 week date range until you go back into view and then click all history. So that can sometimes be a little bit tricky when you jump onto the ledger and you can't see anything, but it will be due to the view that's been set here. Finally, I want to walk you through how to generate a statement for a patient for a previous date. So I'm just going to bring up another patient here, Peter Hilson. Wonderful. And taking a quick look at his ledger, we can see that he has had quite a bit of work done, but he's come in and he needs a reprint of his statement from the 17th of June. So in this situation, you can't reprint it directly from the patient walkout. Typically, of course, at the end of the patient walkout, you jump over to the statement area and you'd go ahead and hit print. That is not going to print a previous date. So instead what you actually want to do is jump into the patient drop down here, and you want to go to the option billing statement. So I'm just going to go ahead and select that now. And here you'll find there's a few options when it comes to the statement start date. And what we want to choose is this one that says other. And here you're going to be able to go back and choose the date range that you're after. So in our case, we're looking at the 17th of June. So I will go ahead and select the 17th of June. And then you're very welcome to leave this include due date as, for example, the 8th of August, or you can also untick that if they just need a reprint. You don't need to have any due date printed on that. After you've done that as normal, you just want to go ahead and print that out, and you can see it's going to come up showing just the item codes from the 17th of June. Now, if you haven't already asked a question either about the content I've covered today or what you'd like to see us cover in the future, please do send me an email at ascend@softwareofexcellence.com and I'll get back to you. But for now, let's dive into some of your questions. All right, everyone. Well, that about wraps up today's Friday Forum. Before I go, I want to remind you that if you have any other questions or want to revisit this or any past webinars at any point, they are all accessible on the Ascend Resource Centre, and you can access the Resource Centre directly via the Help button within Ascend. The Resource Centre is regularly updated, so be sure to check back there regularly and find answers to all of the questions that you might have. Otherwise, I hope you all have a fantastic weekend and don't forget to tune in next week.